We are going to sketch a cubic curve using a certain set of characteristics, and we just need to decide what each characteristic actually means. So if I look at point number 1, it says f of minus 1 is equal to 0. So what I notice is the y value is 0, which means we have an x-intercept at x equals minus 1. Point number 2, I notice that y is equal to 0. So f of 0 is equal to minus 2. So what happens if an x value is 0? We have a y-intercept, and this time at minus 2. Point number 3 says f of 1 is equal to minus 4. Now there's nothing special about that point necessarily, just that it lies on the graph of f. Point 4 speaks about the first derivative being equal to 0. So when is the first derivative equal to 0? That happens with stationary points. So we know that minus 1 is a stationary point. With point number 5, again we're looking at the first derivative equal to 0, but this time x is equal to 1. So I know I have another stationary point at x equals 1. Points 6 and 7 speak about the second derivative. Now the second derivative helps us decide if the stationary point is a minimum or a maximum value. In number 6, the second derivative is smaller than 0, which means that minus 1 is a maximum stationary point. And with number 7, the second derivative is positive, which means it's part of a happy face. So 1 will be a minimum stationary point. Now let's put these all together on a Cartesian plane. Let's first have a look at all of the points that talk about negative 1. So we know that negative 1 is an x-intercept, and it's a stationary point, and it's the maximum stationary point. So if we plot minus 1 on the graph, we know it's an x-intercept, we know it's a stationary point, and we know it's the maximum stationary point. Point number 2 says we have a y-intercept at negative 2. So we know we've got a y-intercept passing through negative 2. And the third point they talk about is 1. I know that 1 minus 4 lies on the graph, that 1 is also a stationary point, and it's the minimum stationary point. So what that's telling us is 1 minus 4 is the stationary point on the graph. So if minus 1 has to be the maximum stationary point, the graph is going to increase to that point. Then it's going to decrease down to the next stationary point because that stationary point is the minimum, and it's going to increase again. And there's our graph.
Thanks for watching Max Maths. If you liked what you saw, please like, share and subscribe.